We have a very ambitious interactive session planned. We're going to see if all the pieces work. But we've brought together the Nature Conservancy, Deltares, IBM, and Unity to kind of talk about this as a new way to start to engage and collaborate around water solutions. Our session is kind of packed, but we're going to start. I'm going to welcome you, which is what I'm doing now. And we have a poll that's in the CWE app, in the World Water Week app, under the polls tab, to get a sense of what is your field in the water sector. So pick the one that is closest to what you do. It may not be there. And if there's really something missing, you can put it in the chat and we'll find it later. We're going to have an introduction to digital twins from Fedor Bart from Deltares, who's going to kind of set what the world of digital twins is and how to think about them. Then we're going to go into a breakout session where we're going to start to collaborate at your tables about what you'd like to see in a digital twin, how it might fit with your work. And then we're going to have 3 case studies. One from Unity about the technology that's available that you can use right now. One from IBM and where they are in developing a digital twin around a nitrate app with Eveline Pernod. And about the Conservancy's own experience with the water intelligence platform using presented by Sarah Waitley. And then we're going to do another breakout session, and this is both live and online, so that's the complexity here, where you're going to creatively think about what you'd like in your digital twins. And we'll conclude and do a wrap up, and hopefully all the pieces will fit. So if you haven't answered this poll question yet, both online and live here in the room, and take a minute to do so. We'd like to know the diversity of the folks that we have joining us today. I'll add one other housekeeping thing for both online and here. There is a link on that same World Water Week app page that is for a feedback form. We'd like you to fill it out so that we have a sense of how this session went and what your thoughts are. And more sneakily, we actually put in some resources on that feedback form for some of the Nature Conservancy's work because we didn't have another place to put them. So it's also a place to gather more information and contact us if you want to. So just a couple minutes of the polls. We're not going to show the poll results because that's one flipping around screen that we don't need to deal with, but we'll report that back to you. So I'm going to pass it off to Fedor Bart to talk about digital twins and their role in environmental resource management. Fedor?
Yes, thank you, George, and thanks for the invitation to this meeting. Great to meet you. So digital twins, a really interesting topic. Let me start with introducing myself. So I can't see the screen at the moment. Let me just, yeah, great. Otherwise I can't see where I'm at. So I'm Fedor Bart. I work at Deltares on data science and future modeling. Next slide. As I work on a lot of interesting topics. On the top right, you see me escaping from the Alcatraz island after we did a nice reconstruction of that the tide at night. And the bottom left, you see one of the islands I discovered, Grape Island, when we scanned the whole world for new land and water. And also like to work on visualizations and data science. And under future modeling, we also have the topic of digital twins. Next slide. And so because it's an emerging topic, one of the first things that most people want to know is like, what is a digital twin? So that's what you have with a new topic. Next slide. And so the concept comes from industry. It's sort of made an epistemic jump to our field, the water field. But a real nice example is, for example, the new rocket that will go to the moon this week. That is where they have a digital twin for it, to be able to test that they shouldn't have launched it earlier this week. And they're going to fix some things, and then they will launch it hopefully at the end of the week. So then you make like a virtual copy of the real world thing, and then you can test and try it out. So from that concept of a real object and a virtual object that go together, that's the concept of a digital twin. Next slide. So one of the first digital twins I worked on was with the Dassault company. So we worked on a digital twin of the city, and their normal work is actually like making digital twins of airplanes. So that is how you see these topics going from one field to another. Next slide. And what you see is that it's really an emerging topic. For example, here in the top left, you see the Google search trends. And you see since 2016, it's really people are searching for it more and more. Unlike, for example, on the bottom left, the World Water Week, where you see a constant search, and then one time a year, you see a strong peak. And it sort of fits in with what we call the sort of hype cycle. So we're now going toward the peak of inflated expectations. So that is where people start to expect more and more from the concept. That's also what we see with digital twins. Next slide. And so instead of just coming up with the definition ourselves, and that's also what we'll do here today, is explore the concept together. So if we call something a digital twin, what do you actually expect that will start to do? So we did several surveys on that. And actually, if you look at the definition that comes up, it's actually quite similar to what they use in industry. So it's a digital representation or copy or clone of, in our case, more the environmental reality, but sometimes also objects, and it's using data and models. Next slide. And we also explored it more into 6 components. So all these 6 components is what people expect from a digital twin. They expect interactivity, data, physics, realism, photorealism, social, and they expect everything to be integrated. So that's quite a challenge. And so I'll give a few examples of each of these. Next slide. Oh yeah, before that, one other thing that we notice is that everybody uses the same colors. So if someone makes a digital twin, everybody chooses this dark color scheme with light blue tinted elements. So next slide. It's not an uncommon theme. So here you have the same thing in the old Star Wars movie. Next slide. Over here, the same color palette. That's actually sort of like a high-tech with a slight human touch here, and that is what is now the digital twin color theme. So the first thing that you, if you make something, you should adhere to this color. So that's what people expect maybe the most, and it sort of fits in with what we call the technological dream. Next slide. So here you see the same colors used in all these digital twins. Next slide. So we can even ask the DALI, the new text-to-image creation tool, and we asked it to create a digital twin image of the Earth, and it made the left one. We could ask it to create a digital twin image of a tunnel and a digital twin image of a ships in a city. And it actually uses the same, even the computer knows that if you make a digital twin, you have to use this color scheme. So we might see a few of those later today. Next slide. And so, but actually what people see is that in each of these topics, there's a lot of emerging new steps in technology. That also fits in with that high expectations of these new technologies, that they somehow all come together. And that's what people expect. Next slide. So a few examples, each of these. Let's start with interactive. And then if you can play this and then sort of like quickly scroll through the video. And so here you have a polder, and that's an interactive model. And then if you can play through the click forward in time on the movie. Oh yeah, and let's skip this one. And this is another one. If you can play this movie. And this is an example of the North Sea. And so here you have a real interactive model that you can actually start to touch. So here we're pouring paint into the tidal model of the North Sea, and you see that the paint is being picked up by the tides, and that interactivity that was never possible before. But now with new techniques, with model emulators, with deep learning, with models running on graphics card, that is now something that you can start doing today. And so that provides a whole new level of possibilities. That's one of the elements of a digital twin. Next slide. And so we also see a lot of what we call the data, how do you call it? Like a lot of data becomes available. This is for example, what we do to make, we don't just focus on one area anymore, but we just model the whole world. So this is the underlying model that we use to estimate storm surges everywhere. And this is, for example, used in the digital twin Earth that Europe is now working on from the EU. So next slide. So here you see what happens when there's a big storm. You see the whole area of Denmark, Norway, Sweden. That basin is being filled up by the storm surge, by the low pressure fields. Next slide. And here also, that will be part of one of the digital twin Earth that ESA and the EU are now working on in the same color scheme, of course. Next slide. Here you see another example. This is what we use to find our this new island. This is the Aqua Monitor that we worked on with Google to scan the whole world for new land and water. So new land is green and new water is blue. All the way at the top right in China, there's this small new island that looks quite similar to the Dubai island, the Palm Island that we worked on. Yeah, next slide. We're also working on scanning all the reservoirs in the world, but this big data deluge now sort of fills these digital twins with information. And next slide. And so physics in the water world, that's like what we've always been doing. And next slide. And so that's not really new. Here you do see a lot of integration. Here you see a deep learning model that's actually scanning images as they come in for also land and rocks and gray. And so these technologies sort of come together. Next slide. Here you see a deep learning model that's starting to learn how to downscale. If you can click on that video on the right blue picture, you see that it's learning how to downscale weather patterns, in this case precipitation patterns. So it will start to learn these patterns from all the history of forecasts that we made. So there's also new possibilities there that data and machine learning and these physical models can start coming together. This was, next slide. One of the main challenges also for us, what we also have as a focus on today is the social aspect. Next slide. And so what we try to do is make people, like if we make such complicated things, to trust us, so to have confidence in what we actually create. And we can't just do it by showing it. We actually have to put our models and data in the hands of the stakeholders. That's also one of the focuses of the Nature Conservancy that we'll see later, and one of the things that we'll look on in the breakout session. Next slide. Here another example, which I really like. You see some small people there. This is actually the collaborative model of the Mississippi. So here from the CPRA, people can really come to the model. They can really stand in the model and can feel it. So this looks like an old-fashioned flume, but it's actually projected by 16 beamers from the top that project like new futures on top of this on the Mississippi. I find that really inspiring. Next slide. And so the realism, we'll see some great examples of Unity later today. The next slide. We also have been applying their platform to make really great visualizations of cities and how the water interacts with the city. Next slide. And integrated, I think that's one of the biggest challenges, to make it all work together. But we have our big tech platforms that help to get all these data sets together. IBM will show some of this later today. And others have also been working in this direction. And but that's a real challenge, how to get this information working together and get it really in the hands of the decision makers, as we see in the top left. Next slide. So the question is, like, why are digital twins now popular? But we see a lot of innovations happen, and people somehow expect us. They have a technological dream that we can somehow magically bring all those things together. So that's, for us, it's a challenge to live up to those dreams. And then what you see is that if people really can get their hands on, really experience, get an immersive experience of what we're doing, then they'll just look as happy as these people here. Is one of my most happy publics when I all took them really into a 3D visualization of our water models. And so that's one of our challenges for the next years. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Feder. So now we're going to go to our first breakout exercise. And for the participants online, the link to the Google Jamboard that we're going to be using is in the World Water Week app page under links and files. You'll see it, Google Jamboard, and Fedor and Sarah and others are online to help you now. I sound like I'm a telemarketer. And here we're going to try to actually go and watch while we do it. We're going to watch the Google Jamboard, and we have essentially the same thing on our tables. So Mark, do you want to kind of introduce the exercise?
Thank you, George. And, thank you all for coming for today. So as you see indeed in front of you, you have a number of papers, and we start with the first one. And there's also Post-its, so please take your time to open those up because you're going to need those. So this is the first one. And what we're trying to discover with these breakouts is basically we want to use digital twins in the water sector and the water management sector. And we want to make sure that they're collaborative, but also equitable. So these are important goals to us. And how can we make that happen the best? So our first question to you is, and we'll come back later with other questions that are more specific, but the first question is indeed, well, what would you actually set up? And why would you do that? What is your purpose with it? So if you would make a digital twin, where do you think it would apply well? And what problems do you try to solve there? So take your time. We're ahead of schedule, actually. We have quite some time. So I'll give you 10 minutes for this one, and we'll see how we go. Yeah. Throughout the day, if you need more Post-its, they're over there. There will be more feasibility later on to dive deeper into those ideas and to dive into the feasibilities and the opportunities and the challenges. But first, we would like to continue with indeed the presentations by the other people present, Unity, IBM, and the Nature Conservancy. I'll give it back to you, George.
Great, and so we have our Unity partner, Chris Gonzalez, is not able to be with us, so he pre-recorded something that is supposed to give a sense of where this technology is right now. And it's not from our industry in water or the environment, but it's from games and other industries. So this is going to be a little bit of a mind-blowing experience for some of you. It was for me when we started working with Unity. But this is Chris Gonzalez, Senior Client Partner for Unity Technologies. And I'll explain who Unity is for those of you who don't know.
Hi everyone. I'm going to begin explaining digital twins in the real-time 3D revolution from Unity's perspective. Starting with, what is a real-time 3D digital twin? A real-time 3D digital twin is a replica of a physical asset of any scale and complexity that looks and behaves identically to its real-world counterpart. All 3D and metadata running in real time across any platform, live and connected to the real world. So this could be a complete environment with all of the assets in that environment included. Or it could be your own physical environment, such as your living room, and the digital representation of perhaps a chair or couch that you're trying to see if it fits within that space of your own. To kick things off with what a real-time 3D digital twin looks like of a virtual human, I'm going to show you a high-fidelity example that uses technology from Ziva Dynamics, a company that we, Unity, acquired last year.
Hi, I'm a virtual human created by Ziva Dynamics. I'm powered by state-of-the-art biomechanical simulation, and I'm running in real time in Unity.
What you're seeing here is a model that was originally created in Maya, and Ziva Dynamics AI technology applied to that model to replicate the finest detail of micro muscle responses that actually are being captured through a mobile device. The camera is responding to the actor's face and being tied to the digital model of this virtual human. Now about Unity. Some of you may have heard of us, but for those who haven't, we now have a global reach with a presence in over 190 companies. The games created with our technology take up 70% of the top 1,000 mobile games. 50% of the games made across mobile, PC, and console were made with Unity. And the reason why you're hearing me speak of games is because Unity is actually, in its foundation, a game engine that is used to create video games. However, that same technology that is called real-time 3D can be used across all sectors, such as manufacturing, automotive, architecture, sports, retail, film, and TV. And we'll go over a little bit of this in this presentation. We are forged in gaming. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of Pokemon Go, which was really the big advent of augmented reality in video games, especially on mobile devices. So the parallels that can be drawn from video games to digital twins, some are the following. Multiplayer games, most games you play now today are no longer those that you have to sit together in one room to experience. You can actually play with anyone around the world. This same technology can be used for a digital twin application, say for architects and engineers designing a facility in one location, but each discipline of their own business is located at different locations across the world. People can come together now through multi-user collaboration to design and build certain physical assets through the use of digital twins. Which brings us then to the metaverse. What is the metaverse? Most people have their own definition, and where we stand is that we believe it is the next evolution of the internet. We believe the metaverse does require real-time 3D technology that is persistent and shared, and that it will be universal and ubiquitous. Some examples of that are 2D assets becoming real-time 3D, such as how Dyson has created a product configurator for their consumers. You can now take a Dyson product, explode it, and see all of the metadata for the different components that make up that product. With IKEA, you can become your own interior designer and use their product catalog to see if the couch or chair or whatever it may be fits in your own living room. You no longer have to take out the measuring tape to measure if the certain piece of furniture will fit. You can simply pull up your phone and have a view through augmented reality to place it in your actual physical space. The applications of real-time 3D are endless. And a big one coming today is AI scanning through the use of photogrammetry. The consumer can now take their mobile device, scan a physical object, and make their own 3D digital twin through a technology we also acquired called RestAR. RestAR is being integrated today with companies like eBay for consumers to scan their shoes and put them on the marketplace so that their buyers can get a true-to-life representation of what that shoe actually looks like, rather than a stock photo. You now may be asking yourself, where do I start? May have some ideas of digital twins and how it can affect your business. We recommend looking at our model of the digital twin maturities, starting with a virtual twin. If complexity isn't what you need and you need a simple representation virtually of a digital asset, you may start at level 1. Once you want to start integrating real-time data and IoT sensors, you can move into level 2, which we call a connected twin. Going to level 3, we then get predictive by having analytics, decision assist, and predictive maintenance included in the digital twin. And by the time you get to level 4, you've included machine learning, which allows you to have a prescriptive twin. By using machine learning and real-time simulation, this twin can give you potential future scenarios as well as prescriptive analytics and recommendations. And finally, level 5, the autonomous twin. This uses multiple real-time data feeds to learn and make decisions to correct issues automatically and enable predictive and prescriptive analytics. At Unity, we have a product portfolio that allows us to follow a certain flow when it comes to creating a digital twin. That involves importing, building, managing, simulating, deploying, and then analyzing that digital twin. It all begins with importing. What kind of data do you have in your business? Do you have CAD data? Do you have BIM data? Or do you have consumer physical objects that you simply need to be scanned through photogrammetry? We've got tools for all of these and beyond. From there, you bring it into the real-time 3D engine, which is Unity Pro. This is where you begin to build your application. You move on to managing it, whether it be locally or in the cloud, and then moving into simulating certain scenarios as we start to get into levels 3, 4, and 5 of those digital twin maturity levels. Finally, you can deploy your application across virtually any platform that exists today, whether it be a mobile device, a gaming device, a PC, a virtual reality or augmented reality headset. The list you saw before is not an exhaustive list of Unity's products that help make these digital twins. This is a slightly more expansive list that includes our products, our services, and our success plans. This list also is not exhaustive of everything we have, all to show that we have the technology that it takes to make any level maturity digital twin. Which brings me to Unity Solutions. Many digital twin companies out today have come to us expressing an interest in digital twins because of a certain need. However, they may not have the skill set on staff in order to build that digital twin. In these scenarios, we deploy our Unity Solutions team. This is an in-house team of professional developers that has actually worked with the Nature Conservancy to help create the water intelligence platform. We begin discovering the needs and the ROI of our customers and partners. We then envision the outcomes that help define what will build a POC or an MVP. Once that is deployed, it will be used to then help justify the scaling of that effort to a potentially widespread globally used product. The project teams of Unity Solutions can consist of the following roles. A team of this typical size tends to be slated for large strategic enterprise custom solutions. However, we are more than happy to evaluate custom solutions of all shapes and sizes. Please reach out after the presentation with your need, and I'd be happy to connect with you. The future is now. Are you ready to begin your digital twin journey? Please make sure to connect on any of the following platforms and find me on LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel where I create product demos and tutorials as well as Unity news. Thanks for watching, and I'll kick it back to the Nature Conservancy.
We've also put a couple different examples from Unity's work, one that's interactive and social, and one that is more kind of industrial. That's an airport model. In links on the World Water Week app page under Files. And now for a case study from IBM, Evelina Paranurud is going to talk to us about their first steps into digital twin building.
Thank you so much. Hello, nice to be here and see you all here in my hometown, Stockholm. Maybe some of you are from here, but I'm so happy to have this world event in Stockholm. So my name is Evelina Panerud. I'm CSR manager for IBM Northern Europe and CSR, Social Corporate Responsibility. And I'm here to talk about the work we have done and are about to do with Deltares through our flagship within social responsibility. So the IBM Sustainability Accelerator, which is a global pro bono social impact program where we use IBM technologies and our ecosystem of experts. So IBM as a tech company is of course an expert within technology functionality. But as you all know, and as you will see in my presentation, it's just as much about user experience and to make sure that we add value for our users. So the IBM and Deltares partnership started in April earlier this year. And Deltares, if any, recognizes the fundamental and essential role that water plays in people's lives, but of course also how vulnerable water is. And in order to address the threat of nitrate losses to surface water caused by fertilizers and manure from livestock, Deltares created the nitrate app to help the citizens, often farmers, to identify nitrate losses. The app today is used by farmers, researchers, landowners, and Deltares are now also doing updates on adding salinity measurements and also testing the addition of phosphorus and nitrate in soil. And now with this 2-year partnership with IBM Sustainability Accelerator, we at IBM are leveraging our expertise in tech and our user experience design to develop this app further with additional functionality and to motivate users to do more measurements, to get more data and accelerate the development of a digital twin. And in the picture here, you can see what it looks like today, a person using the strips and using the app to do nitrate measurements. So I just want to give you some features of the app as it looks today. So by using easy to access and low budget materials, the app is relevant for all kinds of users. It can be used for various purposes and also for various user groups. As I said earlier, researchers, farmers and landowners, but it's also used by hobbyists and school children for various projects. The app also offers a built-in map where which allows you to compare your measurements over time and with other users. And least but not last, of course, the app is accurate. So testing has shown that measurements doing in lab and with the app are within reasonable limits. So what are we trying to achieve? We started with defining the overall context and the project goals. And through workshops, we agreed on 3 main overarching goals. So the first one, to extend the reach and functionality for the nitrate app to enable even earlier detection for pollution, threats, and inefficiency. Secondly, and this is maybe the most important goal, to increase usage and get more people to use the app, but also get the ones that already use it to use it more and do more measurements. And thirdly, we want to have more exposure to more communities and more locations. All these goals also lead us to examples of opportunities that we have seen to move the nitrate app, its backend and user community towards a more digital twin-like experience. So we are looking into how can we make sure that equipment are easily available and ensure that it can be used at any location so the measurement can be carried out whenever. We're also looking at incentives for users to use the app, as I said, to attract new users, but also to keep the users that we have. And we also want to improve and enrich the data platform to give the users more valuable insight. And each of these point to the opportunities and challenges associated with enabling a digital twin based on user-collected data rather than automated IoT sensors. Through the IBM Garage methodology and interviews with user groups, we then identified 4 core user needs regarding the nitrate app. And these would also enable the start of the creation of a digital twin. So the main functionality improvements identified were support to take action. Through this new app, we want to help the users to better understand the measurement results. What do they really say? And also give them suggestions on actions one can take based on the results. We want to improve usability. The app can be quite challenging sometimes to use, and we want to create an easy step-by-step user guide that is easy to follow and that would help the users up to speed. We also want to leverage the power of advisors. So during these interviews, it became clear that there are very knowledgeable and trusted advisors and ambassadors in this field that could be used when it comes to driving the adoption of the app. And finally, more functionality. We could see that there's a clear interest for more functionality and more insight. And we here saw the opportunity to take the first steps towards a digital twin for water bodies that would enable various groups to interact with the water condition levels and make decisions on these mitigations or on any mitigations. So now our mission is to create this enhanced app. An easy-to-use tool for data collection, a people-powered tool for citizen scientists that would enable a digital twin. So clear, engaging, step-by-step onboarding experience, clear user guidance with where and how to perform measurements based on GPS locations. The most important part is the data enrichment and the recommendation engine, where we, with artificial intelligence, are looking at creating a model for various recommendations to move from just showing data to real value with recommendation, risk mitigations, and next steps. We also want to create the community engagement where the people using the app can communicate with each other, share data, or keep it privately if they so wish, discuss actions, give comments, and recommend actions they have taken. So I think that's what's so interesting with this tool. It's data gathered by the community, and this can be a challenge. We saw that in the heuristic evaluation results that we did, but it also creates a lot of possibilities and a lot of strength and engagement. When using your desktop, it will be even easier to use all the functionalities, to see what is happening in your area, to see various recommendations and interact with other users. And the app's new backend will provide situational awareness for important watershed condition and external dynamics that can impact this. The ability to monitor and interact with the data would underpin digital twin-like experience for these water bodies. So the next step in this, or the next phase in this exciting IBM and Deltares partnership, we will now shift focus towards iteratively validating, designing, and implementing these identified opportunities. And then we will start working on the handover of the app to Deltares. So the next step is a proof of concept, where we want to validate the most challenging technical aspects and evaluate their feasibility. And then it's moving on to design, to start working on a visual brand strategy, design the new user experience, the look and feel, and create a prioritized backlog of features. Moving on to building, define user stories, add new feature and functions to the app, and also, of course, perform user validation. And then finally to run and operate this enhanced app while continuously adding new features, and then also, of course, transferring the knowledge and providing training to Deltares so they can take over the operation and running the app. We are super excited about this partnership with Deltares and the work we are doing, and I hope that I've sparked some interests within you as well. If you want to hear more, or if you even want to participate in this in some ways, I just want to say that partners are welcome. So please reach out and we can continue discussion around this. Thank you very much for having me, and looking forward to the rest of the session.
And so now we're going to hear from Sarah Whately from the Nature Conservancy, who's going to talk about our next step into the land of digital twins for water with the Water Intelligence Platform. Sarah?
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Whately, and I'm a water resource scientist at the Nature Conservancy in New York. And as George just mentioned, I'm going to introduce a platform that we've been developing called the Water Intelligence Platform, which is a baby step into the digital twin world in the water sector. Although, like Feder showed, we don't yet have the right color scheme, so we're still a work in progress. So the purpose of the Water Intelligence Platform is to provide a space for critical stakeholders to be able to learn from each other, investigate water issues in their communities, connect around shared interests and concerns, and be able to start to build trust around issues related to water. Next slide, please. We were motivated to create a data-informed discussion platform because we believe that collective action is essential to solving our major water challenges. And yet the management of water is siloed across sectors and between different parts of the water cycle. And so decisions that impact communities and their future are often made unilaterally by a small group of decision makers rather than engaging the full suite of critical stakeholders. Communities, companies, and utilities don't have a central platform for sharing information, soliciting feedback, easily accessing key data, and collecting early stage stakeholder buy-in at all levels, including non-technical members of the public. And this lack of a common platform to support community-based decisions so that all water present in the system is accounted for is a real barrier to collective action and our ability to address the looming water crisis. Next slide, please. So as we just saw, digital twins really have the potential to transform how stakeholders interact, how decisions are made, and how resilient our systems are to future change. Having an immersive environment where stakeholders can visualize data in a user-friendly and interactive way and engage communities with remote collaboration and really be able to leverage models and data sets can accelerate collective creation of actionable and innovative solutions for clean water around the world. And the Water Intelligence Platform is a small step toward adopting a digital twin solution. Next slide, please. So the platform is a collaborative forum that uses 3 technologies to help communities of stakeholders engage, build trust, and solve water challenges. including a 3D interactive data visualization for exploring a watershed, collaboration forum and networking opportunities, and a virtual chatbot assistant, which is a fish named Finn, who helps users easily find water resource data that may inform their conversations. Next slide, please. So Unity helped us design and build the interactive data visualization on the platform, which allows users to easily visualize land, water use, and water quality data. This shared understanding leads to more constructive and inclusive discourse around water challenges. We currently have 15 pilot watersheds built out across New York State for our platform's minimum viable product that aggregate data at the Huck 12 scale. Our goal with this abstracted watershed visualization and the interactive heads-up display icons, which you can see on the left of the screen there, was to give users, including non-technical users, a snapshot of the state of the watershed, essentially a thumbs up or a thumbs down on water quality, water quantity, land use, and ecosystem health. It's not meant to replace higher resolution models, maps, and data, or provide a detailed analysis of the problem, but rather flag issues, spark conversation, and hopefully catalyze action. Another goal of the platform was to encourage users to think about both upstream and downstream impacts. So when you're viewing a particular watershed, you can easily navigate upstream and downstream of where you were exploring. Similarly, the platform's data supports this upstream downstream dynamic in certain ways, such as displaying information on both the local and total sources of nitrogen and phosphorus, so that users can get a sense of both the sources in their watershed and sources coming from upstream. And that's what's being illustrated in data visualization on the right panel there. So it's easy to leave critical stakeholders out of the conversation if you're not thinking about the holistic complexity of these upstream, downstream linkages of hydrological processes. The data sets that we currently have available on the platform include watershed and stream geographic data, nutrient concentrations, land use and land cover data, discharge permit data, stream flow alteration, and New York State permitted water withdrawals. And by including both water quality and water quantity data, we hope to highlight the interconnectedness of water challenges and break down some of the silos that we've observed in the water sector. However, these data sets are really just a starting place for where we see the platform going down the road as we customize and scale to new geographies around the world. Next slide, please. The Collaboration Forum provides an avenue for robust community engagement and the ability to reach new audiences and communicate in new ways. And we hope it allows the community to identify their concerns and collectively find solutions. In addition to the more common features of a discussion forum, such as the ability to pose questions, reply and comment in threads, create polls, and schedule events, it also encourages users to pull data and visualizations from the platform into their discussions without needing to track down fragmented water data and information that's typically scattered across various websites and sources. Having a data and discussion platform that brings people together from different perspectives, whether it's corporations, local government, state and federal agencies, community watershed groups, concerned citizens, is really important for supporting these ongoing conversations and encouraging the long-term engagement that's necessary to track concerns and solicit input from lots of voices. Ultimately, we hope the discussion platform helps connect people across geographies and topics and creates a network of people with shared interests that can collaborate, disperse information, mobilize support, and collectively grapple with water challenges. Next slide, please. The chatbot Finn currently supports users in accessing data on the platform across New York State. Users that are interested in interacting with our interacting or discussing watersheds that are outside of the 15 pilot watersheds that we currently have built out in the MVP can use Finn to access statewide data. However, beyond just accessing data, we really believe that constructive, solution-oriented conversations require good facilitation. So we hope that in the future, Finn can be more of a virtual facilitator for water conversations on the platform, bringing additional information to conversations, answering basic questions, sparking discussion, connecting ideas and people, summarizing conversations, and keeping discussions and actions on track. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the Water Intelligence Platform is a baby step into the digital twins world, providing critical stakeholders with a visually appealing, easy to use online space to learn, investigate, connect, and build around issues related to water. Connecting people, communities, and data on the platform helps establish a collaborative atmosphere for a broad and more inclusive user base of stakeholders to participate in the decision-making process. And to that end, we're currently in the process of building our customer base on the platform and expanding its reach and impact to new applications and geographies. And we'd love to hear from you. Next slide, please. We're really excited and hopeful to be able to continue the conversation around the Water Intelligence Platform and digital twins more broadly. So please don't hesitate to reach out and keep in touch, which you can do by clicking on this link in our slide deck, which we'll post on the CWE platform, which will take you to the feedback form that George referenced earlier on, or email us or visit the TNC booth at World Water Week. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. So now we're going to do another breakout session, and this is going to be build on what you did earlier in our time here, and you're going to answer 2 questions. And Mark's going to kind of lead us through this, and we're going to probably drop the streaming feed again, and those folks will be online. We'll see what they put up, and we'll do it here in the room as well.
Yeah, thank you, George. So, like George already mentioned, we earlier discussed indeed the what and the why, or why would you want to develop a digital twin to help in being more collaborative, being more equitable in solving issues in water management. And now we are going to the next one, and if you flip the page, then you will get a yellow post-it note, and that will describe a user story. So you might not all be familiar with user stories, but they basically go like this. As a person in a certain field, or as a stakeholder, I want to be able to do something so that I can solve this or that. So if I give an example, as one of the leaders of the session today, I would like this to be a successful breakout session, because then we can take home all the great ideas that you guys supplied. So apply that to the digital twin idea that you just created, and see what is needed most to make this more collaborative, people working together on this and solving these issues together. And now I'll give you some time for this. There are several other questions that we'll go through, but we'll go through it more gradual. You have at least 5 minutes to discuss this and to put this down and post this notes. Thank you. There's more post-its, by the way, on the side if you need more post-its or pencils. I hope you have made a lot of nice user stories. We're moving now to the pinkish reddish post-it, which should be underneath the one about the user stories. And this one is more about the challenges. What are the biggest challenges to overcome? And especially mention to us also your field that you're in, and also the why you perceive those challenges. So we're looking for, hey, okay, well, we have this beautiful digital twin. We have defined all the user stories, all the feasibilities, all the things that need to be in place to make it open to the world, to make it collaborative, to make it equitable. But what are the biggest challenges to get people on board, to get the right information, to, you name it? Where do you see the real hassle come in? So I'll give you another 5 minutes to work on this one. And again, try to base it on the previous example. Good luck. And again, if there's more post-its needed, they're over there. Already thought about it. They're both with green post-its. So that should be easy to write down. And we also made an open template to make sure that you get the comments on there that you still want to leave behind, the ideas that you still want to leave behind, or the things that you think we didn't discuss. So if you will, please go to the next 2 slides with the green post-its and see what you can fill in there. I've seen great ideas being jotted down, and thank you for your great input there. And I see some great discussions happening. And when you are got everything together, have the ideas together, then I would like to give it to George for the concluding remarks and share with us his thoughts.
So I can't skip ahead to the to the end of the presentation, but I wanted to thank everybody for kind of playing along, and now I've broken the computer. So thank you for coming. Here's the commitment that the Nature Conservancy and Deltares and IBM and Unity have made. We're actually going to gather all of the materials that you've written, both here and online, and we're going to compile them and get them back out to you as the beginning of a discussion. The other kind of commitment that we're making is that we'll find a platform, should you want to stay involved in this discussion and kind of further these ideas and perhaps even begin your own journey into a digital twin, we'll create a community that can do that. And we may do it on the Water Intelligence platform or some other site, but we'll canvas people to see what is easiest for them to do. The third thing I'll say is there are cards on the front table that have a link to the Water Intelligence platform. They're also at the Nature Conservancy's booth on the 3rd floor. And if you don't get my contact information or anybody else's, there is a little round puck with a logo on it sitting on that table. You can scan that or tap that with your phone and it'll give you contact information and access to the Water Intelligence materials. We're just trying that out to follow people. I think those are kind of the wrap-up things. Oh, and please do the feedback evaluation form that's on the World Water Week app. That's our real critical way, not only to know how we did, but it's our way of getting materials back out to you, but also it's your way of getting more materials from us. So check that if you didn't. And it would still be helpful if you haven't taken the poll to take the poll. I don't think it's closed, so we know what sector you're from. Kind of with that conclusion, I'm really glad that we were able to do this and it seemed to work online in the room really well. We have a few minutes. Are there any kind of outstanding questions or comments or observations or takeaways that folks would like to make as we conclude here? I think we have a few minutes. We have like 7 minutes, so we can take some questions. We also have Fergal Odoncha from IBM online. I don't know if he can chime in, but he's also there. You can chat questions to him as well.
I'm coming to you. Here you go.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Dyer from Antea Group in Belgium, and I'm quite new to, not completely, but quite new to digital twins. One of the questions I've had, maybe on some of the examples from TNC in the intelligence platform, or from the example shown by Deltares, is to make it work. Do you need to have the whole place, the whole landscape completely full of sensors to have real-time data? Or in the case of Deltares, is that purely on real-time satellite data? Or I'm kind of trying to grasp the connection between observing and monitoring the environment, putting it in 3D, and real-time making actions.
So this goes back to something that Fedor said and that Chris Gonzalez iterated. Kind of, it depends on where you need to be or where you want to be. So in the Nature Conservancy's example, we don't have any real-time data in there yet because it just doesn't exist. We took data that existed that we could use in the platform that wasn't the whole state even. It was in specific places and it met specific needs to trigger conversations. And some of it is updated routinely. Some of it is updated every few years. But that was the need that we had. So it's really based on your ambition and what you and your stakeholders need. That would be the way I would answer it. I don't know about Deltares.
Yes, I think we agree with that, and also maybe Feder want to pitch in here. Well, we have an additional question online. Feder, maybe you already think about your
Yeah,
answer
so
about the
what you see,
or-
like what Unity also showed nicely, I think, that it's sort of like let's say a general direction where you're going, and where you can set small steps and you can set big steps. But what we do see is, let's say, a growing need, or let's say a growing interest for, and also growing expectations that people just expect us to bring everything together. And I think that's good to know, that people expect us to go in this direction. And sometimes we can set small steps, sometimes we can set big steps, but the general direction is, I think, what is showing up here.
Okay. I think we had an additional question in the online. Would we be able to switch to person online? Yeah, the person that asked the question. Okay.
That was
Well,
Julie.
Oh, that wasn't the question
No,
online.
Julie King asked a question, I think, right?
Okay, then we can switch to Judy King. By the way, if there's more questions in the room, please raise your hand in the meantime.
I just made a comment for the room, actually, so that's no problem. It wasn't a question generally.
Okay, maybe reiterate your comment if you will, or.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, I am involved with this area, but in real time monitoring for water and wastewater treatment. So I was curious what the calling something a digital twin versus being a data twin, maybe what you're referring to. What we've seen in most companies and utilities all over the world is that they're using SCADA systems and data loggers for monitoring and managing their treatment processes, if they're doing anything at all. And that information is being managed in spreadsheets. And so if there's an accident or some problem in the treatment plant, then it requires a great deal of scrambling and a lot of time to find out where the problem may be, by having to comb through a lot of spreadsheets to find that in the system. And then it takes time to determine if the response to that accident or problem is actually effective, and then hope that everything is fixed before there's a disaster, some kind of environmental accident that's spilling more untreated wastewater into the local water resources. So the treatment or lack of treatment is a big source of water pollution for local resources, which means there's more treatment that's required, which is very energy intensive. So I was just wondering how far along everything is within what you're doing versus, creating quote digital twins from retrospective data, or is anything that anyone's doing real time yet, and where are you getting the information, the data, because we found it incredibly hard to get a hold of that.
So
I
your
would be-
question, I think, is are there good digital twins, and is that data being used in real time for what kind of applications? Does IBM want to respond to that, or does Deltares Fedor wants to respond to that?
I can give a just a quick response to that. In terms of, I think the earlier presentation gave a very good overview of the different levels of digital twin, and it's not a single answer, so to speak. So what there are many across different industries, there are a variety of different approaches that use different real-time data sets, etc. In the environmental space, it's certainly a challenge just based on the huge spatiotemporal complexity, etc. The role of IoT sensors, the role of satellite data, etc., they play a huge part here, of course. What's critical here as well, and I think Julie touched on this, is we can't consider these as standalone systems. So if we consider wastewater treatment, what are the effects on natural water systems, what are the effects on marine water systems, etc. So it's that enhanced integration is also a key focus here. But I think in short, digital twin, they're not static in terms of the level of maturity. There are a lot of different at different levels, and there's a lot of complexity in terms of the different data that are required and the integration of those and the integration of different digital twins, especially in the environmental space, to allow a representative insight and to allow representative decision making and scenario exploration here. I'll pass over.
Thank you for your response. That's, by the way, our digital twin experts from IBM. Sorry, could you reiterate your name?
I'm sorry, Fergal O'Donoghue. I'm a research scientist at IBM Research in Dublin in Ireland.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of our session. Do you want to give some last thanks, George? Or?
Yeah, no, if there are any other questions that you have now or when you leave the room, put them in the chat in the World Water Week page, and we're going to add that to our compilation that we'll get back out to people. There's some, Judy's is a really good one, and we can check with Unity and get some really good answers that we can also tag onto those so that folks have that information. I really appreciate on the last day of World Water Week, you all showing up and really engaging with what we're trying to do. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day.